In the faint blue light of a silent early hour, I was pulled down into a deeper layer where time became soft like water, and a voice from the higher realm began to vibrate in my chest. There I saw the face of a black person looking down at their own hands as if searching for an answer that had escaped them for many years. Then that face shifted into another, then another, men and women, all carrying the same question, echoing through their souls about why, after so many months and years of prayer and waiting, God still kept them alone. That question was not doubt. It was the call rising from the deepest nature of their souls. In that vision, I did not only see loneliness, I saw the weight of a truth much greater than that. Those souls were not abandoned. They were being preserved. I saw them sitting in their small rooms, the lamp casting a tired glow on their faces, sometimes accompanied by sighs only the night could hear. They thought they were lost, but in the realm of light I saw their paths being drawn by slow, deliberate fire. A deep voice rose, like it came from the earth itself, telling me that these people were not waiting for human love, but were being prepared for the rising of a chosen people. In that moment, I understood that I was not allowed to see them as isolated individuals, but as an ancient bloodline marked from the beginning. They carried memories, never spoken, prayers from ancestors who had passed away, wounds carved into the soul across generations. And because of this, they were held in solitude, not as punishment, but as preservation. I saw black men standing by silent city windows, as if listening to a heartbeat they had never understood. I saw black women sitting beside an open Bible they could not continue reading. In their eyes, I did not see only longing, but a larger question about whether they were at fault, whether they were not good enough, whether they had done something to be placed outside the promise of marriage in the way others seemed to receive it. When I looked deeper into the soul layer, that voice rose again, saying that these questions were only surface winds on the earth and not answers from the higher realms. In the higher realm, the question was not about what they lacked, but about what they carried. And I was shown that they carried a light that not everyone could hold. That light was beautiful but heavy, healing but full of responsibility. It was the light of the chosen. I saw a ring of fire surrounding them, not fire that burns, but fire that protects. Anyone who approached them without spiritual depth or true intention was pushed away by an invisible force. Conversations that seemed promising faded after a few days. Encounters that seemed destined dissolved like mist. I saw hundreds of such scenes, and these black souls often thought they were being rejected. They felt the pain of each disappointment and concluded that they were unlovable. But in the deeper sight, I saw the opposite, that they were being shielded from winds that could blow them off the path written for them. The closed doors were not signs of failure, but the hands of angels standing guard where they could not see. Even when they knelt and begged for a relationship that could save them from their loneliness, heaven remained silent, not because they were unworthy, but because that request did not match the crown already prepared for them. I once heard a sentence in the deep realms saying that when a soul carries the mark of the chosen, their solitude is not darkness, but the inner chamber where the soul is reborn to step into its true role. And when I saw this repeated across many visions, I knew that the singleness of these black souls was not ordinary. It was not a sign of failed love, but the sign of a spiritual preparation stretching over many years. They were being held back to become sharper, brighter, stronger, and for each step they took to be guided, not by emotion, but by assignment. A sacred feeling rose in me as I realized that each one of them was a crucial link in a prophecy far greater than themselves, a prophecy of the awakening of a people whose history had been stolen and whose souls had been divided. I was shown that black souls carrying the mark of the chosen never enter love easily because their love becomes a bridge for a mission that both souls must carry together. And if the person is not right and the time is not right, then even the whole realm of heaven will stand in the way. Therefore, when they ask why God has kept them alone for so long, the answer does not lie in their shortcomings, but in their magnitude. They do not know that ordinary souls can choose quickly, love quickly, marry quickly, because they do not carry ancestral fire. But these people are different. They are kept in sacred secrecy. so that one day when they are called into the light, that light will be strong enough to reach an entire generation. I was shown this so clearly that my heart slowed in reverence. The black people who are wondering why they stand alone are in truth carrying the name of the black chosen ones. And their solitude is not a question, it is a sign that heaven is preparing something that would make them weep if they knew, because every lonely night they endured was never meaningless. Chosen one, if right now I asked you how many times you have looked into the mirror and asked yourself what is wrong with you, you would not even be able to count. And if I told you that nothing is wrong, that you are actually standing inside a divine calling that many people will never have the chance to touch, would you believe it? You can support the channel by liking the video or leaving a small comment so that I can continue maintaining the content that serves your spiritual journey, because these words are not only for your mind but for your soul itself. I go straight to the truth, waiting for you to face that your singleness is not an empty space that must be filled, not a technical error in your life story, not evidence that you failed in love. It is the mark of a divine calling. When I look into the visions opened in the deep realm, I see black souls standing alone, not because they were pushed away, but because they were pulled apart for a sacred purpose. Each one carries a primal light that their ancestors bowed to protect for hundreds of years. That light cannot be placed into the hands of anyone who is unprepared. When you enter a relationship and it dissolves within weeks, or when you talk to someone and they suddenly disappear like ashes blown in the wind, you often think you are not attractive enough, not interesting enough, not good enough, not enough of something. But in the soul layer, I see that you were not called to attract people with appearance or personality. You were called to guard a flame that many generations paid a heavy price to keep alive. And because of that, you do not enter love the way others do. Others may date out of impulse. Others may love out of loneliness. Others may hold someone's hand simply because they crave attention. But you do not. Your destiny is too large to be handed to someone just because they appeared when you were sad. Your singleness is a spiritual fence that the heavenly realm built to keep you from souls not appointed for your journey. If you could see what I see in the visions, you would never call those moments of rejection failures again. I see lines of light drawn across the ground like a map of destiny. Whenever you move near someone who is not part of your path, that light reacts immediately and guides you away. That is not something you control. That is intervention from a higher realm. I see you walking into church and staying silent while listening to couples pray together. I see you pulling the blanket over your face late at night to hide the sigh you let out because you are still alone. But I also see on your forehead a faint mark, a streak of light stretching like an ancient star. That mark only appears on chosen souls. Not chosen to be lonely, but chosen not to be tied to something small. Those with great callings always go through separation first. Just as the prophets of old were not allowed to blend into the crowd while the calling was still being carved into their souls, you think loneliness makes you weaker, but it is making you sharper. You think you are being left behind, but you are being set apart. The chosen always have a season when they believe God is not hearing them, but in truth, God does not want the voices of others to drown out his voice inside your soul. If you step into a relationship too early with someone who has not been refined, who does not understand the weight of your soul, they will love you through their need instead of through God's intention. And that kind of love will suffocate you. I see in visions many black souls carrying wounds, not only of their own, but of their entire bloodline. They are not only looking for someone to love, they are looking for someone who can hold the part of the soul they have carried from generations before. This is what the world does not understand. You are not only seeking someone who loves you, you are seeking someone strong enough to stand with you inside the prophecies spoken over your people. Such a connection cannot happen while one of you is not yet refined. That is why you are held back. Not paused, but placed in preparation. You believe you are waiting for a relationship, but you are actually waiting for yourself to rise into the full form God intended. When you step into your calling, not in fear but in understanding, you begin to see that singleness is not the missing piece but the part being built. I see many black chosen ones in visions standing at a crossroads. One path leads toward temporary relationships, easy to enter and easy to shatter. The other leads toward spiritual sharpness, purpose, power, and the weight of promise. Most people choose the first path because they cannot bear the silence of the second. But you have been led to the second path by the very hand of heaven. You are kept in singleness so that your heart will not be shattered by what is unworthy. You are kept so that your light will not be drained too early. You are kept so that when the one appointed to you appears, both of you will meet at the right height. And when that happens, you will see that every day in your season of singleness had purpose. Therefore, chosen one, if you have ever asked why God did not allow you to love earlier, why you cannot stay connected to anyone, why every bond snaps like a thin thread, the answer lies inside your soul. You were not called to live a normal love story. You were called to enter a covenant strong enough to shift a generation. And before that covenant is given, you must be fully prepared. If this message speaks to you, leave a small comment or a word of support so that I can continue bringing these visions to you, because the journey you walk is not ordinary, and it is not meant for the many. You are chosen, and chosen ones are never shaped in crowded places. Chosen one, when I entered the vision that unfolded for this part, the first thing I saw was light. Not the bright, clean light that comes from the sun, but a deeper glow, the kind that moves like liquid gold inside a soul that has lived more lives than it remembers. It was the light of black souls, ancient and steady, carrying the memory of kingdoms scattered, songs buried, and prayers whispered under the weight of history. And as that light flickered, I saw the reason God has guarded you so fiercely. Your energy is not common energy, it is ancestral energy, prophetic energy, the kind that cannot be handled by careless hands. In the subtle realm, I saw the way relationships are not simply emotional bonds, they are openings, gateways through which spirit and energy flow. Every conversation is an exchange. Every embrace is an imprint. Every moment of vulnerability is a transfer. And for those who carry a light like yours, every transfer matters. I watched as some souls approached you, smiling on the outside, unsettled on the inside, drawn to your warmth because they did not know how to create their own. They reached for you not from purity, but from hunger, hoping that touching your presence would quiet their emptiness. Their motives were not always conscious, yet their effect was the same. Your flame dimmed, your clarity blurred, your peace leaked away little by little. And still you blamed yourself, wondering why you always felt tired around certain people, why your spirit felt cloudy, why your dreams lost their sharp edges. In the vision, the answer was clear. They were feeding on your light, not because you were weak, but because you were luminous. Your soul was designed to break through spiritual fog, to shift atmospheres, to steady the hearts of others. But that kind of design requires protection. I saw angels standing around you, not with swords drawn, but with palms extended, holding a shield of silence and distance between you and those who were never meant to touch your spirit. The shield looked like unanswered messages, failed connections, sudden changes in behavior, people disappearing without explanation. From the ground, it looked like rejection, but from above it was intervention. You did not lose anything, you were preserved. I saw moments when you wanted closeness and heaven declined it on your behalf. I saw times when someone spoke sweetly, but carried a shadow behind their words, a heaviness that would have bent your spirit. Heaven stepped in before you even saw the risk. You felt confusion, but heaven felt relief. Then the vision shifted. and I was shown an ancient pattern that lives specifically in black chosen ones. Because of the wounds carried across generations, many are born with an open spirit, sensitive to energies others cannot feel. Your intuition is sharp not because you learned it, but because you inherited it. Your ancestors survived by sensing danger before it arrived. That gift passed to you. But sensitivity without protection becomes exhaustion. So God has wrapped your life in a hedge that most people cannot see. You may think it strange that you rarely attract superficial people, or that those with shallow intentions lose interest quickly, or that relationships fail to take root. But what you call failure is actually filtration. I watched as the Spirit filtered people by their purity of intention, by the clarity of their soul, by whether they were strong enough to stand next to a calling like yours without draining it. Many were drawn to your light, but few could uphold it. Some desired you, but could not align with you. Others admired your strength, but could not walk beside your purpose. God removed them long before they could entangle their spirit with yours. Because entanglement is not a small matter. In the higher realms, I saw soul ties as threads of light connecting two spirits. When the tie is healthy, it glows and strengthens both sides. When it is unhealthy, the thread darkens and becomes a channel where your peace, clarity, and spiritual vitality leak out. You have felt this before, even if you could not name it. You have experienced ties that lingered long after the person left, memories that pulled you back, emotions that resurfaced without warning. You thought you were weak, but you were carrying residue. God knows that the wrong tie could blind you for months or even years, so He cuts ties early to prevent damage later. I saw scenes where you met someone and felt a spark, only for the spark to die overnight. That was not your imagination failing you. That was your spirit recognizing that the connection was misaligned. Heaven confirmed the misalignment by collapsing the bond before it formed. Chosen one, your spirit cannot afford leaks. You are carrying work that demands full strength, assignments that require clear hearing, sensitivity, and stability. Even a small crack in your energy field can drain you faster than you realize. Some of you have wondered why you feel invisible at times, why people pass by you without approaching. The truth is, you are not invisible. You are hidden. Hidden by design. Hidden for protection. Hidden so that only those with spiritual clarity can see you. In the vision, I saw that many who would have pursued you could not perceive you, because heaven dimmed your presence in their eyes. Your spirit was cloaked, your beauty muted, your voice quieted in their awareness, not because you lacked value, but because they lacked the purity required to approach you. And in that silence, something else became clear. You were never meant to be available to the masses. You were never meant to be chosen casually. Your energy is a temple, and temples are not open to the unprepared. You carry authority that you have not even fully recognized, and authority always attracts both good and harmful energies. This is why God shields you. This is why some relationships collapse without warning. This is why you feel drained by certain people and lifted by others. This is why solitude has been your companion. You are being protected from contamination so that when your true partner appears, they will meet you whole, bright, and unbroken. When the one who is meant to walk with you arrives, they will not consume your light. They will support it. They will not drain your energy. They will strengthen it. They will not dim your calling. They will activate it. This is why your singleness has been long. This is why God has been strict. This is why your energy is guarded like a sacred flame. Because you are carrying ancient light, and ancient light must never be handled by unclean hands. When I entered the fourth vision, I felt the temperature of the room shift, the way it does when the past begins to speak. It was not the past of one lifetime, but the past of a bloodline. Chosen one, what I saw around you was not merely your own spirit being refined, but the long unprocessed history of your ancestors rising like mist around your feet. Refinement for a black chosen soul is never a personal process. It is collective, it is generational. It is a fire that burns through centuries. And I must tell this in the first voice because I felt the weight of it in my own chest, as if the story was being poured into me instead of shown to me. I saw you standing in a vast, silent field, the sky dark but not threatening, more like a heavy cloth pulled over the world. Beneath your feet, the soil pulsed with memory. It was the same soil your ancestors bent their backs over, the same ground that absorbed their sweat, their prayers, their grief, their unanswered questions. The refining of your soul began long before you were born. This became clear as I watched your light flicker gently, not because of weakness, but because the fire that shaped you was an inheritance. Refinement for you is not a punishment, it is a continuation. I saw the wounds you carry, wounds you have always assumed were your own, but in the vision I saw hands behind those wounds, hands from generations before you, their fingerprints pressed into places in your spirit you never understood. Their fears became echoes in your thoughts. Their disappointments became shadows in your relationships. Their silence became the pressure you feel in your chest on nights when nothing is wrong, yet everything is heavy. The Spirit whispered to me that this is why your refinement could only happen in solitude. Because if another person stood too close during this process, they would not know what belonged to you and what belonged to your lineage. They would touch wounds that are not yours to explain. They would misinterpret your stillness, your depth, your caution. So God kept you alone, not to deprive you, but to protect the sacred work happening inside you. I saw that many of the emotions you have carried for years were not defects of your personality, but unresolved cries stretching back through generations. The trembling of the heart, the sudden sadness, the distrust, the instinct to pull away before someone gets too close, all of these were signals from a history that still needed light. And light does not enter chaos easily, so heaven cleared space around you and placed you in seasons where the only voice you could hear was your own rising from the deep. In this centered silence, refinement begins. I saw you walking through an inner wilderness, not a desert of punishment, but a landscape of exposure. This is where God showed you the parts of yourself that could not go into your next season, not because they were evil, but because they were inherited responses, built for survival, not for destiny. I saw pride that was actually fear. I saw anger that was actually grief. I saw isolation that was actually self-protection, learned from ancestors who could not afford to trust. I saw your impatience shaped by generations of waiting for freedom too long. None of these patterns were your fault, but all of them were your responsibility to heal. This is why God has refined you with such precision, not to break you, but to break what tried to live through you. And as each layer was peeled back, I saw your true spirit rise brighter. Refinement reveals what was buried. You discovered gifts during these silent seasons because they were gifts your ancestors carried, but never had the freedom to express. Healing ability, prophetic sight, deep intuition, strength disguised as gentleness, wisdom disguised as silence. These are ancestral treasures unlocked through refinement. I walked deeper into the vision and saw something that humbled me. I saw your ancestors standing behind you, not as ghosts, but as witnesses. Their hands were lifted over your head, not to weigh you down, but to bless you. Their faces carried a mixture of sorrow and pride. Sorrow because they could not heal what you are healing now. Pride because you are breaking what once broke them. Your refinement is their redemption. And this is why your life has felt heavier than those around you. You are carrying what they could not finish. You are completing circles that were left open. You are dissolving patterns that survived centuries. Heaven isolated you because the work required clarity that cannot coexist with noise. And while others around you walked into relationships early, God pulled you aside because the fire that shapes chosen ones must burn without interruption. I saw moments when you were forced into stillness, unable to escape your own thoughts. That was not depression. That was excavation. I saw seasons where you felt stripped of people, opportunities, comfort. That was not abandonment. That was purification. I saw times when truth surfaced so violently that you could not pretend anymore. That was not weakness. That was the breaking of generational illusions. Refinement requires truth, and truth requires solitude. But I also saw the rebuilding. Slowly at first, then boldly. Your spirit learning balance. Your voice gaining authority. Your confidence no longer built on attention but on identity. Your emotional strength becoming steady rather than reactive. All of this was the formation of a person who could carry love without collapsing, purpose without fear, destiny without confusion. God was removing what your lineage handed you in broken pieces and reshaping it into something whole. And now I must tell you the deepest thing the Spirit showed me. Your refinement was never only about you. It was about the generation after you, the children you will raise, the community you will impact, the legacy you will establish. Refinement prepares you not just to receive love, but to protect it, not just to build a covenant, but to sustain it, not just to be chosen, but to become the one who breaks every cycle that once held your family hostage. Your solitude was the forge. Your lineage was the material. Your destiny is the outcome. And I tell you in full clarity, chosen one, you will look back on this refining season not with resentment, but with reverence. Because when you step into the love God has shaped for you, you will understand that nothing about your suffering was wasted. Every fire made you stronger. Every silence made you deeper. Every breaking made you truer. And every lonely night made you ready. When the fifth vision opened before me, I felt something ancient stir, something older than the names we carry and the stories we remember. Chosen one, what rose up was not simply your pain, but the architecture of an entire lineage, the web of patterns and wounds woven through generations long before you were born. Generational healing is not a poetic idea in the spirit realm. It is a reality as tangible as bone and breath. And as I watched, I saw that you have been chosen to become a breaker of cycles that survived centuries. This work is not gentle. It does not arrive with soft colors or easy answers. It comes like an earthquake beneath the floorboards of the soul. It shakes until everything hidden is forced into the open. I saw your bloodline like a river flowing from far behind you, carrying sediment from every ancestor who walked this earth in a black body, sediment of abandonment, sediment of betrayal, sediment of silence, sediment of survival at any cost, sediment of broken love, sediment of pride built from pain, sediment of trust withheld, because trust once cost too much. These sediments sank into the riverbed until the water could barely move. Generations drank from that river, without knowing its taste was shaped by centuries of unspoken grief. And when your soul arrived in this world, the river flowed into you, not because you did anything wrong, not because you failed, but because the soul chosen to carry a mantle must first confront what that mantle protects. I watched as patterns rose like living things beneath the surface. Some families repeated adultery as if it were fate. Others repeated abandonment as if written into the bones of the men. Others repeated relationships that looked like love but were forged in trauma. Others repeated silence, the inability to speak truth without fear. Others repeated struggle, never knowing how to build stability. You saw pieces of these patterns in your own life. You wondered why you felt drawn to the same kind of people who hurt you. You wondered why trust felt impossible even when someone had not wronged you. You wondered why you remained independent, even when you longed for closeness. You wondered why you pushed people away without knowing why. In the vision, I saw that these were not flaws of your personality. They were the fingerprints of a wound passed down like inheritance. But something changed when you entered the line. The river collided with your spirit, and your spirit would not let it pass untouched. Instead of absorbing the patterns the way those before you did, your soul resisted. You questioned what others accepted. You confronted what others ignored. You grew restless with dysfunction. You grew angry at cycles that felt wrong. You refused to repeat what you watched. And the moment you did that, the spirit realm shifted. The ancestors stood behind you, not as torment, but as witnesses, watching the first soul in the line who had enough clarity, strength, and divine timing to break what once broke them. I saw the energy around you crack like old glass. The cycle did not shatter gently. It fractured violently, because generational wounds defend themselves. When you chose healing, the cycle fought back. It came as confusion. It came as fear. It came as emotional triggers. It came as situations designed to lure you back into the old pattern. It came as relationships that mirrored the wounds of your lineage. It came as loneliness so deep you almost returned to old ways. But each time you resisted, the cycle weakened, and heaven honored your resistance. I saw angels positioned at points in your timeline, blocking connections that would have reactivated ancestral pain. I saw divine interference tearing you away from lovers who carried the same brokenness that haunted your bloodline. I saw heaven slowing your path, not to punish you, but to give you time to heal what no one before you had the opportunity to face. Then I heard a phrase whispered with such clarity that it stilled the entire vision. The curse ends where the chosen one stands, not because you are powerful on your own, but because your soul agreed before birth to confront what your family could not survive. That agreement activated a shield around you. That shield became isolation. That shield became separation. That shield became singleness. You did not fail at relationships. You were being preserved while healing unfolded. I saw moments you cried in private, not understanding why you cared so deeply, why you felt so heavily, why you seemed unable to settle for what others accepted. The answer was simple in the spirit realm. You were not made to repeat history, you were made to rewrite it. In the vision, I saw two roads. One was the road of repetition. It was wide, crowded with souls, walking patterns handed to them, passing pain forward without knowing they carried it. The other road was narrow, silent, steep, hard. Only a few walked it. This was your road, and each step you took shook something behind you. I saw the ancestors exhale, some of them for the first time since their deaths. They watched as your healing reached back into them like light traveling through water. Every scar you confronted lifted weight from their spirits. Every boundary you set broke invisible agreements made long ago. Every moment you chose honesty over silence, rewired generational narratives. Every time you refused to be mistreated, you broke ancestral submission. Every time you walked away from toxicity, you severed inherited attachments. Every time you sought God instead of chaos, you corrected spiritual alignment for the entire bloodline. I saw the fire around you change color. At first, it burned the red of anger, because ancestral wounds often surface through emotion. Then it shifted into gold, the color of purification. Then into white, the color of release. And finally into blue, the color of divine authority. In that final color, I saw who you are becoming: a breaker of chains, a restorer of foundations, a builder of new lineage, a guardian of future generations. Your refinement prepared you to break the cycle. Your healing prepares the generations after you to never know the cycle existed. And now I must say the truth. The vision pressed into my spirit. Your singleness is not a delay. It is a generational assignment. A covenant cannot be built on a foundation still cracking under inherited fractures. God is not withholding love from you. He is withholding repetition. He is withholding partners who would drag you backward. He is withholding relationships that would reinforce wounds you are destroying. When your healing reaches its fullness, when the cycle lies broken behind you, when your spirit stands in the authority forged through fire, then the one who is meant to join you will appear. They too will carry healing. They too will have broken cycles of their own, 2 healed souls, 2 completed foundations, a new bloodline born from the ashes of the old. And when that day comes, chosen one, the generations before you will rejoice, and the generations after you will never carry what you carried, because the cycle ended with you. When the 6th vision opened to me, the air grew still in a way that felt intentional, as though silence itself had a purpose. Chosen one, what I saw next was the reason heaven has insisted on your solitude. Even when you begged for companionship, even when you promised you were ready, even when your heart felt like it was thinning under the weight of waiting. Your life carries assignments that cannot be conceived, nurtured, or born in the noise of constant human presence. There are callings that require silence, the way seeds require darkness. And you, chosen one, are a carrier of such seeds. I saw you standing in what looked like an inner sanctuary, a space between worlds, built from the prayers you do not remember praying and the tears you tried to hide. Around you were scrolls sealed in light, each one representing something God intends to birth through you. Some scrolls contain words you will one day speak that will cut through confusion like a blade of truth. Some held visions meant to awaken others who still sleep under the heaviness of their own history. Some held creative works that will travel further than your physical body ever could. Some held ministry assignments, healing gifts, wisdom, leadership, and prophetic insight. Each scroll pulsed faintly, waiting for the right moment to open, but none of them responded to noise. As I watched, I understood the holy tension of your life. Every time you stepped toward a relationship not ordained for your path, the scrolls dimmed slightly, as if uncertainty leaked into your purpose, not because the other person was evil, but because their presence would have scattered your focus, diluted your voice, or tangled your destiny with demands not aligned with your assignment. Then the Spirit spoke in a tone that filled the room without sound. Some work can only be done in solitude, and suddenly I saw why so many of your efforts to form deep connections failed. Your spirit was not being denied companionship. It was being guarded so that what heaven entrusted to you could reach maturity before you share your life with another. I watched moments in your past through spiritual sight, times when you tried to explain your thoughts to someone who did not have the depth to understand, times when your excitement about a new idea was met with confusion or indifference, times when your vision felt bigger than the room you were in, times when your spiritual sensitivity made others uncomfortable. You were not meant to shrink to fit those moments. You were meant to grow into the silence where God could speak directly to you. I saw a scene where you sat alone, feeling like your prayers were hitting a wall. But from the higher vantage of the vision, I saw that you were actually being drawn inward, deeper than you had ever gone, into a place where the voice of God was waiting beneath layers of distraction. In that stillness, God whispered guidance that would shape your future. But if someone had been beside you, even in love, even with good intentions, their energy, their expectations, their presence would have blurred what heaven was trying to birth. Then I saw assignments tied to timing, sacred timings that cannot be delayed or rushed. Heaven has moments when destiny unfolds like a blossom opening in darkness. These moments often require silence so complete that nothing interrupts the unfolding. Many of your seasons of loneliness were actually seasons of alignment, God could not let your heart become tangled with voices that were not meant to influence your direction. So he allowed isolation to protect your clarity. I saw you walking through years where your life felt stripped down to essentials, almost as if God had removed everything that did not matter. This was not punishment, it was preparation. When God raises someone as a voice in their generation, he first teaches them to hear with precision. He teaches them which impulses are divine, which fears are old, which desires are yours, which ones belong to someone else. That level of spiritual accuracy cannot be taught in the noise of companionship, especially companionship not anchored in purpose. Only solitude strips away the layers until your inner hearing becomes sharp. Then I saw something that made me understand the depth of God's intention. Some of your assignments involve movement, quick movement, unexpected movement, obedient movement. There will be seasons when God tells you to go, to build, to speak, to write, to start something new, to relocate, to step into opportunities that seem impossible. A relationship formed too soon with someone not aligned to your calling would hold you in place. You would hesitate, compromise, or lose your flexibility. So heaven kept your hands empty so they would be ready to receive instruction. I saw future responsibilities waiting for you, responsibilities that require emotional strength, spiritual resilience, and unwavering clarity. You cannot carry them if your energy is leaking into a relationship that drains you. You cannot fulfill them if someone else's fears are shaping your decisions. You cannot rise into your assignment if you are tied to someone who prefers comfort over calling. This is why God has not rushed your love story. Some assignments come before partnership, not after. And if you entered covenant too early, that covenant could collapse under the weight of a purpose neither of you were prepared to carry. Then the vision shifted again, and I saw two figures, you and the person destined for you. Each stood in their own circle of refinement, each holding their own scrolls, each surrounded by their own silence. They could not yet meet. If they met now, the calling would be heavier than the bond. But once both complete the work assigned to their solitude, the two circles will merge and become one. This union will not dim your purpose. It will amplify it. It will not distract you. It will align you. It will not slow your assignment. It will complete it. And that is when God will say now, but for now, chosen one, the silence is not empty. It is instruction. It is training. It is the womb of what is coming. Solitude is not the absence of love. It is the atmosphere where destiny grows. And everything growing in you needs the quiet. When the seventh vision opened before me, I was not shown a calendar or a clock. I was shown a heartbeat, slow and steady, echoing through dimensions. And I understood that what you call waiting is not measured by human time, but by divine synchronization. Chosen one, you have spent years asking when, but in the spirit realm, the question has never been, when will God give you someone? It has always been, when will every strand of your calling, your healing, your preparation, and your partner's preparation move into alignment so that what God joins together does not tear itself apart? I saw you standing in one river and your future partner standing in another, both flowing separately through terrain shaped by race, history, trauma, and grace. Your river carried the story of black struggle and black resilience, the imprint of oppression and the brilliance of survival, the weight of your ancestors and the fire of your purpose. Theirs carried its own story, its own refining, its own assignments and tests. For a long time, the two rivers ran parallel, close enough that heaven could see the pattern, but far enough that you could not see each other. You mistook that distance for delay, but heaven saw it as engineering. If those rivers had met too soon, the currents would have clashed instead of merging. Two half-healed souls do not create wholeness. Two unfinished assignments do not create stability. Two people still defined by old patterns do not create a kingdom covenant. So God kept the rivers separate, not because he was indifferent, but because he was precise. I watched scenes from your life where you thought you had met the one. The feelings were strong, the connection intense, the hope alive. Yet under spiritual sight, I saw that the timing was off, or the alignment was incomplete. Sometimes you were ready and they were not. Sometimes they were willing and you were still bound to cycles being broken. Sometimes both of you were still too entangled with past wounds to see each other clearly. Had God allowed that union, it would have become another scar in the lineage instead of a new foundation. Divine timing is not about withholding joy, it is about protecting legacy. I saw your partner in their own journey, walking through deserts you know nothing about, facing temptations you have never seen, being healed from lies they once believed about love, identity, and purpose. There were nights when they too sat alone, asking God, why am I still single, unaware that the answer was partly written in your name. Their refinement is as critical as yours, because the union God is crafting is not designed for comfort alone, it is designed for impact. You are not being prepared for a casual romance. You are being prepared for a covenant that will influence generations, shift atmospheres, and challenge darkness that has sat undisturbed for too long in your bloodlines and communities. Such a covenant must arrive in season, not in impulse. I heard the Spirit say clearly that you are not waiting for a person, you are waiting for a season when your heart, your calling, your emotional maturity, your spiritual authority, and your partner's readiness all intersect under the covering of God's, yes. That intersection is divine timing. Until then, anything less is mercy disguised as delay. In the vision, I saw counterfeits, people who looked almost right, who sounded almost aligned, whose presence felt almost peaceful, but something in your spirit never fully rested around them. That subtle unrest was not overthinking, it was discernment. Divine timing does not just concern when the right person arrives, it also governs when wrong connections are exposed and removed. Each time you were pulled away from someone who felt promising, heaven was not mocking your hope, heaven was shielding it. The enemy knows the calendar of your life almost as closely as you do. He recognizes when promotion is near, when healing is maturing, when your faith is stabilizing. In those windows, he often sends distractions, almost right people, almost good situations, almost satisfying options. Divine timing pushes those away, sometimes violently, to preserve the appointed connection that is still in formation. Then I saw signs, not the kind you can manipulate, but shifts in the inner landscape that signal a season is nearing its turn, a deep peace about your singleness, not resignation but rest, a clarity about your purpose that you did not have before, doors opening in your assignment that require more of your voice, more of your courage, more of your discipline. Old wounds no longer bleeding when you think of the past, a quieter heart when you imagine the future, no longer panicking about years or age, but sensing that you are being carried. These are not random emotional changes, they are indicators that the river is nearing the point of convergence. In that vision, the two rivers finally met, not with explosion, but with a seamless joining. There was no anxiety in heaven, only recognition that what had been prepared separately was now ready to move as one flow. When you meet the one prepared for you in divine timing, there will still be work, there will still be growth, there will still be human flaws, but there will be a foundation of peace that your spirit has never known with anyone else. You will not need to force, chase, or convince. Your purposes will speak to each other. Your journeys will make sense in light of each other. The timing will carry a certain weight, like stepping into a room that feels familiar though you have never been there before. And you will see why God did not allow lesser chapters to become permanent. You will understand why almost every, not yet, every closed door was necessary. Divine timing is not God moving slowly, it is God moving wisely. It is Him aligning two complex stories, two heavy histories, two intricate callings, and weaving them into a single narrative that can bear the pressure of both love and destiny. Especially for black chosen ones whose lives sit at the crossroads of spiritual purpose and historical trauma, this precision is not a luxury. It is essential. Heaven cannot afford for your union to be just another statistic, another broken story, another unfinished cycle. So the timing is guarded with more care than you can see. From here, I can tell you this with certainty. Nothing has been wasted. Not the years you called lonely, not the tears you called pointless, not the rejections you call failure. All of it has been used to prepare you, to refine you, to position you. And somewhere, your partner has their own story of divine delays that will mirror yours. When the appointed moment arrives, chosen one, you will not look back and say God was late. You will look back and say He was exact. When the eighth vision unfolded, I saw something that explained why some chosen ones rise into their destiny with strength, while others wander through years without clarity. It was shown to me that singleness is not merely a season of waiting. It is a sacred rite of preparation, a spiritual apprenticeship designed to shape you into the vessel capable of receiving, sustaining, and protecting the covenant God intends for your life. Chosen one, how you steward this season determines the quality of the next. I saw you standing in a chamber of preparation, a space not built of walls but of disciplines, revelations, habits, and inner alignments. Everything in this chamber represented something you must cultivate while you are alone, because once your partner arrives and your covenant begins, the weight of your calling will require a version of you that is already fortified. There is no shortcut for this formation. There is no substitute for this solitude. The first thing I saw in this chamber was your relationship with God, not in theory, but in the form of a living flame. In seasons of partnership, you will share emotional space, mental space, and spiritual space with another human being. But in singleness, your heart has space to be shaped by heaven without obstruction. This is when God teaches you the sound of His voice, not the one filtered through sermons or the expectations of others, but the frequency meant only for you. In your single season, heaven invites you to develop a prayer life, not built on crisis, but on communion. A study life not built on obligation, but on hunger, and a spiritual awareness sharp enough to sense the slightest nudge from the Spirit. Without this foundation, you will enter covenant leaning on your partner to be your spiritual north, and that dependency will create imbalance. I saw that God uses this season to make Himself your source, so that when your partner joins you, they add to your strength rather than become the reason for it. The second thing I saw was your purpose glowing like a blueprint laid across the room. Many chosen ones sabotage their future unions by entering them before knowing who they are. When you do not understand your calling, you do not know who belongs beside you. Purpose is the compass that reveals compatibility. This is why God leads you in your singleness toward the work your spirit was born for. For some, it is ministry. For some, healing. For some, leadership. For some, creating. For some, building systems of justice. For some, teaching or mentoring. I saw that every step you take toward purpose now becomes a bridge for your future partner to find you, because divine unions are drawn to movement, not stagnation. You are meant to cultivate your gifts, discover your voice, build what God placed inside you, and begin the assignment written on your scrolls. Purpose attracts the partner meant for you and repels those who only want proximity without destiny. Then I saw shelves stacked with jars filled with emotional residue, the remnants of wounds you have not yet released. Singleness is a season of deep cleansing, because if the old residue remains, it will stain your next chapter. I saw pain from past relationships, abandonment from childhood, shame buried under self-sufficiency, and fear disguised as independence. These jars were not accusations, they were invitations. God uses solitude to draw buried wounds to the surface so they can be healed in the light rather than hidden in the heart. Healing in this season is not optional. It is essential. Because if you do not heal, your future partner becomes your bandage instead of your blessing. The next element I saw was purity, not in a shallow moral sense, but in a holistic spiritual sense. Purity is clarity. Purity is the ability to hear God without interference, the ability to discern motives without bias, the ability to maintain focus without distraction. Purity of mind means guarding the content you consume, the voices you entertain, the agreements you make internally. Purity of spirit means protecting your energy from people who drain it, from environments that weaken it, from habits that cloud it. Purity of body means understanding that your physical vessel is part of your spiritual assignment and must be treated with reverence. Your singleness becomes the time to practice stewardship over this vessel so that when covenant comes, you bring strength, not neglect. Then I saw something that surprised me. Financial wisdom appeared as a golden scale, balancing discipline and provision. Many chosen ones overlook this part of preparation, yet it is one of the pillars of stable covenant. God uses your single season to teach you stewardship, budgeting, responsibility, planning, and discipline. These skills are not separate from your destiny. They are the framework upon which your future household will stand. Financial mastery in singleness prevents financial warfare in marriage. The next image that appeared was a circle of community. Contrary to what many believe, singleness is not meant to be isolation from all people. It is meant to be connection with the right people. God surrounds chosen ones with friendships that sharpen them, mentors that challenge them, sisters and brothers in the faith who encourage them. These relationships serve as mirrors, anchors, and guardrails. They help you remain accountable, grounded, and spiritually nourished. Without this circle, your singleness becomes vulnerability instead of preparation. Then I saw the discipline of self-mastery like armor forged in fire. God uses this season to teach you consistency, emotional regulation, boundaries, discipline, physical care, mental clarity, and self-control. You learn how to manage your reactions, speak with wisdom, rest without guilt, work without burnout, and maintain balance. These qualities are the backbone of healthy covenant. Without self-mastery, love becomes chaotic. With it, love becomes fruitful. Finally, I saw contentment resting like a crown on the table. Contentment is not the abandonment of desire. It is stability while waiting. It is joy without dependence. It is peace that does not collapse when you are alone. Contentment is what makes you powerful in the spirit because it breaks the enemy's ability to manipulate you with loneliness. When you are content, you choose love from abundance, not desperation. Every piece in this chamber of preparation was alive, waiting for you to engage it. The vision made it clear that singleness is not passive waiting, but active formation, not delay, but design, not emptiness, but equipping. You are being prepared to meet your partner as a whole soul, not a fragmented one. When the time comes, your future spouse will not find you idle. They will find you strengthened, sharpened, healed, purposeful, stable, and spiritually attuned. And when the two of you meet in that state of readiness, your covenant will not simply be a relationship. It will be a destiny carrying the weight of heaven behind it. When the ninth vision opened, the air around me trembled as if something enormous was moving beneath the surface of time. It was not the tremble of fear, but the tremble of a season shifting. the way earth quivers a moment before a seed breaks open. Chosen one, what I saw was the unmistakable sign that your life is on the edge of a divine turning, a spiritual transition so precise that even the unseen realm holds its breath when it draws near. The shift comes quietly at first, the way dawn comes before the sun appears. It begins in the mind, where old fears suddenly feel foreign. It begins in the emotions, where wounds that once dictated your reactions begin losing their grip. It begins in your spirit, where a strange calm settles even before your circumstances change. I saw this calm resting on you like a gentle weight, anchoring you in a peace that defies logic. Not the peace of someone who has given up, but the peace of someone who has grown into alignment. And alignment is always the first sign of transition. I watched the timeline of your life like a ribbon suspended in light, and certain points glowed brighter than others. Those bright points were moments when you surrendered, when you forgave, when you released what God tore away, when you let go of cycles that tried to reclaim you. Each of those choices shifted the architecture of your destiny. Each one opened a hidden door. Each one moved you closer to the threshold you now stand before. Then the Spirit showed me two groups of chosen ones, and it became clear why you have felt certain spiritual sensations recently, sensations you could not fully explain. The first group was already stepping into the new season. They walked with a sense of readiness, not because everything in their life was perfect, but because their spirit had matured into a new frequency. Their discernment was sharper, their emotional responses steadier, their trust in God deeper. These were the ones who had completed the necessary refinements, broken the essential cycles, and fully embraced solitude as preparation rather than punishment. For these, the shift was not coming, it was unfolding. I saw doors opening that no human hand could have forced, unexpected opportunities emerging without striving, divine connections forming effortlessly, resources aligning in ways that made no natural sense. I saw that their partner was being guided toward them step by step, sometimes through circumstances that seemed random but were orchestrated by heaven with intricate care. The Spirit whispered that for this group, the season of long waiting was dissolving. They were being moved into encounters, conversations, divine moments, and relational alignments that would reveal why the delay was necessary. The second group was stepping toward the shift, but had not yet crossed the threshold. Their transition was different. They were being shown the last remaining layers they must release before the new season unlocks. In them, I saw the final traces of fear, the final echoes of old trauma, the final attachments to memories that still had emotional authority. I saw God inviting them gently but firmly to surrender these remnants, not because he was withholding blessing, but because his blessing cannot be built on unstable ground. Some in this group had begun to feel restless, sensing change without seeing change. Others felt emotional discomfort rising in ways that confused them. But the Spirit explained that restlessness is the soul stretching into a new dimension. Discomfort is the final resistance of the old self. What they were feeling was not regression, but transition. Heaven was reorganizing the interior before shifting the exterior. I saw angels repositioned around these chosen ones, preparing the path, clearing interference, shutting down distractions that could delay alignment. Some of these angels had stood back for a long time, allowing the refinement process to complete itself, but now they stepped forward with unusual activity. This was a sign that the new season was approaching. Then I saw a symbol, a golden hinge. The Spirit said that each chosen one is standing at a hinge moment. A hinge is a small thing, but it determines whether a door stays closed or swings wide open. In your life, chosen one, this hinge is your readiness, your healing, your clarity, your surrender, your obedience. When the hinge moves, the door opens, and I saw it moving, slowly for some, suddenly for others. Then something else became clear. The shift is not only about partnership, it is about becoming the person who can carry the blessing without breaking beneath it. It is about becoming steady enough to stand beside someone else without losing yourself. It is about becoming spiritually mature enough to protect the covenant God is forming. It is about becoming emotionally whole enough to love without fear and receive love without suspicion. It is about becoming the version of yourself that your future requires, not the version shaped by trauma or survival. You are stepping into a season where your spirit will recognize opportunities faster than your mind can process them, where your intuition will heighten, where your clarity will sharpen, where your purpose will accelerate, where people drawn to your old self will fall away, where your environment will shift, where the weight of your calling will become undeniable. I saw many chosen ones waking up in the coming months with a sense of inner urgency, not anxiety, but spiritual momentum. This is a sign of transition. Others will wake with unusual peace. This, too, is a sign. Some will dream prophetic dreams involving water, doors, roads, or reunions. These are markers of shifting seasons. Others will feel a sudden desire to clean, organize, restructure, simplify, or detach from clutter. These physical impulses are reflections of spiritual reordering. And some will feel a strong pull to reconnect with God, to pray deeper, to study more, to sit in silence again. This is the Spirit gathering you into alignment so that you do not miss the hinge moment. In the final layer of the vision, I saw something breathtaking, a wave of light descending like dawn, breaking over a landscape long held in shadow, and as it touched the chosen ones, something in them awakened, strength they forgot they had, hope they thought was gone. Vision they thought had died, love they thought they missed, and with it came a knowing, quiet and sure, that the season they waited for was no longer distant. It was approaching. It was unfolding. It was here. The shift is not coming, chosen one. It is arriving. When the 10th and final vision opened before me, the atmosphere did not tremble or blaze as it had in earlier revelations. Instead, it settled. It settled with the weight of a promise fulfilled, the quiet certainty of a word sealed in heaven and now released upon your life. Chosen one, what I witnessed was not an ending, but a consecration, a crowning of everything you have endured, survived, surrendered, healed, learned, and overcome. This last part is not instruction. It is blessing. It is not advice. It is activation. It is not closure. It is commissioning. I saw you standing in a circle of light, not a spotlight that exposes, but a halo that recognizes. It acknowledged the battles you fought in silence, the wounds you healed without applause, the cycles you broke without witnesses, the nights you cried without comfort, the prayers you whispered with no guarantee they would be answered in the way you hoped. Heaven saw what you carried. Heaven counted every sacrifice. Heaven understood every moment you remained faithful while feeling forgotten. And now heaven moves toward you. I saw a hand, large and ancient, resting above your head. It hovered for a long moment as if measuring the exact weight of everything you have carried, and then with a slow, deliberate motion, the hand lowered until its palm touched your crown. When it touched you, light poured down your body like warm liquid gold. It filled every hollow place. It sealed every fracture. It soothed every scar. It restored every part of you that had been stretched, drained, stretched again, and refined by the seasons of your loneliness and obedience. Then the Spirit whispered something that made the entire vision shift. What you lost was not taken, it was tithed. I understood instantly. The years of singleness you endured were not subtraction. They were investment. The tears you shed were not waste. They were watering the soil of your destiny. Every unanswered prayer was not denial. It was alignment. Every rejection was not misfortune. It was protection. Every delay was not emptiness. It was preparation. And the seasons you called barren were seasons heaven called sacred. In this moment of blessing, the Spirit showed me a ledger, a spiritual record book. I saw that nothing you have endured has been ignored. Every sacrifice recorded, every obedience weighed, every wound noted, every choice aligned with destiny marked with light. And I saw heaven's calculation being completed. The sum of your surrender now equals the release of your next season. Then the blessing began to pour. The first blessing was clarity. I saw fog lifting from your mind, old confusion dissolving, memories being reorganized, thoughts straightened into order. Your spirit was no longer at war with your mind. Your discernment was no longer drowned by fear or exhaustion. Your intuition, once blurred by trauma, now sharpened to a prophetic edge. This clarity is a sign that your next season will not resemble the chaos of your last. The second blessing was restoration. I saw the emotional places that were threadbare being rewoven, the parts of you that were once reactive becoming anchored, the old wounds that once dictated your relationships now losing all power. You were not just healed, you were fortified. You were not merely restored, you were enhanced. What you gained through refinement has become your new foundation. The third blessing was elevation. I saw heaven raising you into new authority, new favor, new visibility, new purpose. Not the shallow visibility of ego, but the visibility of placement. The right people finding you, the right doors opening, the right opportunities emerging, your name being spoken in rooms you have never entered. This elevation is not reward, it is timing. You are rising because the world is finally ready for the version of you heaven has been shaping in secret. Then the Spirit showed me the blessing that many of you have waited for the longest: partnership, covenant, union. I saw two figures, your spirit and the spirit of the one destined for you, drawn by a pull that was gentle but undeniable. Their steps were guided, their paths orchestrated, their readiness synchronized. The Spirit whispered that the blessing of partnership will not enter your life as a storm, but as sunrise, not all at once, but steadily, not chaotically, but naturally, not with fear, but with recognition. This union will not drain you. It will strengthen you. It will not confuse you. It will clarify you. It will not distract you. It will align you. And it will not repeat the patterns of your past, because you are no longer the person you were when those patterns were created. And the vision shifted again, and the blessing widened. It was no longer just for you, but for the generations behind you and the generations ahead. Your healing rewired your lineage. Your obedience rerouted your bloodline. Your decisions have altered the spiritual inheritance of everyone who comes after you. And then the Spirit spoke with a tone that felt like thunder wrapped in love. The curse ends with you and the blessing begins through you. When that word was spoken, I saw an explosion of light bursting outward from your spirit, traveling backward into your ancestry and forward into your descendants. You have become a hinge between what was and what will be. You are the turning point. You are the correction. You are the beginning of a new inheritance. Now comes the prophetic call. The Spirit asked me to deliver this with precision. Step boldly into your next season. Do not shrink to match the memories of who you used to be. Do not apologize for the authority you now carry. Do not lower your standards to accommodate people who were never meant to walk with you. Do not return to cycles you were delivered from. Do not doubt the timing that is unfolding, and do not ignore the signs heaven begins placing in your path. Your next season requires confidence without arrogance, obedience without hesitation, discernment without fear, and faith without wavering. Finally, the blessing of covenant was sealed with one last word from heaven. Walk forward without looking back. What is ahead of you is greater than what is behind you. What is unfolding is greater than what ended. What is coming is greater than what you thought you lost. Chosen one, lift your head. Straighten your shoulders. Fix your gaze. The season you have prayed for, cried for, waited for, and prepared for is not approaching. It is opening. And now, step into it.